For a brief moment in World War II, planners believed the war could be ended not by invasion, but by fire. A single operation, approved in secret, mapped down to the street level. And then, just before it could begin, it vanished. By the time the plan was buried, almost no one outside a handful of offices even knew it had existed. This is the story of that plan. By late 1942, the Second World War had entered a new and brutal phase. In Europe, the Axis advance had stalled. Stalingrad was grinding toward catastrophe for Germany. In the air, Britain had survived the Blitz and was now striking back. Night after night, RAF bombers crossed the Channel, targeting German industrial cities. But these raids were not yet decisive. Despite thousands of sorties, German production continued. Morale bent but did not break. Precision bombing had failed to deliver quick results, and daylight raids remained costly. Inside Britain's Air Ministry, a darker idea was taking shape. If factories could not be reliably destroyed, then cities themselves would become the target. Not for their buildings, for their vulnerability. By early 1943, British bombing strategy had shifted toward area bombing, large-scale attacks designed to overwhelm firefighting capacity and ignite urban firestorms. Then, in July 1943, Hamburg burned. Operation Gomorrah created a phenomenon few planners had fully anticipated. Incendiaries combined with high explosives produced a self-sustaining inferno. Winds strong enough to pull people into the flames, temperatures that melted asphalt and glass. Hamburg shocked even the men who planned it. And it triggered a question that would haunt Allied planners for months. If one city could be turned into a firestorm, what if dozens were hit the same way in rapid succession? That question became the foundation of a proposed operation, quietly labeled in planning papers as Operation Zippo. The name never appeared in public briefings. It was used internally, sparingly, and always alongside warnings. By late 1943, as the Allied air war intensified, Zippo was conceived as an incendiary-focused air strategy aimed at accelerating Germany's collapse through urban combustion rather than industrial attrition. The timing mattered. In November 1943, the Allies met in Tehran. A cross-channel invasion was now inevitable, but it would not happen until mid-1944. Until then, air power was the primary weapon against the Reich. The question was how far that weapon should go. Operation Zippo proposed something unprecedented in scale. Instead of rotating targets across Germany, the plan envisioned concentrated incendiary assaults on a limited number of densely populated urban centers, chosen not for their factories, but for their construction. Cities with tightly packed housing, narrow streets, old timber structures, limited open spaces. The goal was not blast damage. The goal was ignition. By early 1944, analysts within Bomber Command were studying meteorological data city by city. Firestorms required specific conditions, low humidity, stable air, and predictable wind patterns. Timing was critical, even the hour of attack mattered. Zippo would not be a single raid. It was designed as a sequence. Initial high-explosive waves would break roofs, rupture water mains, and block roads. Then, minutes later, massive drops of incendiaries would fall into an already crippled city. Firefighting would be impossible. The internal language was chillingly clinical. Urban conflagration potential. Combustion density thresholds. Civil disruption effects. But beneath the phrasing was a simple reality. This strategy accepted and relied upon civilian mass casualties. Not as collateral damage, as the mechanism. By February 1944, doubts began surfacing inside the planning rooms. Some officers questioned whether Germany's civil defense network, hardened by years of bombing, would adapt. Others warned that once initiated, firestorms could not be controlled or predicted. Weather could shift, fires could spread beyond targeted districts, entire regions could ignite. And then there was the political concern. Just weeks before D-Day planning reached its final stages in early 1944, Allied leaders were increasingly focused on post-war legitimacy. They would soon be liberators on the ground in Europe. What would it mean if liberation followed deliberately incinerated cities? There was also a practical problem. Zippo demanded enormous quantities of incendiary munitions, aircraft, and train crews. By spring 1944, those same resources were being redirected. Rail yards, bridges, and coastal defenses now took priority. The transportation plan required precision and repetition, not urban annihilation. In March 1944, the balance shifted. Bomber Command was instructed to support the invasion effort. Tactical bombing, not strategic terror, became the immediate mission. Operation Zippo was quietly paused. Not cancelled publicly. Simply set aside. By May 1944, as Allied aircraft focused on northern France, Zippo no longer appeared in active scheduling documents. Its supporting memos stopped circulating. There was no formal cancellation order. Just silence. By June 1944, Allied troops were ashore in Normandy. The war's momentum had changed. Cities would still burn. Dresden in February 1945 proved that, but the systematic, premeditated incendiary campaign envisioned under Zippo was never executed as designed. After the war, most references to Zippo disappeared into archives. There was no single reason it died. It was undone by timing, by moral hesitation, by logistical reality, and by a war that moved faster than its planners expected. But the implications remain unsettling. Had Zippo launched in early 1944, before D-Day, Germany's urban centers might have faced destruction on a scale never fully realized in Europe. Firestorms would not have been isolated events. They would have been policy. Entire regions destabilized, millions displaced. The humanitarian crisis confronting advancing Allied armies would have been far worse. And history's judgment, already complicated, would have grown darker. Operation Zippo reminds us that World War II was not just a series of battles fought. It was a series of decisions narrowly avoided. Plans written, approved, and then quietly buried. Sometimes the most important operations are the ones that never happened. Because they reveal not only what the war was, but what it almost became.